Good evening and welcome to Sleep Tales. I am so glad you are here to unwind with me tonight. Before we begin our journey, if you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. It helps so much. I would also love to know where in the world you are listening from, so feel free to leave a comment below. Now, find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and let the story begin. The bus moved through the dark city like a slow, sleeping animal. Its engine was a low and steady hum, a constant sound that filled the quiet spaces of the night. Inside, Leo sat behind the large steering wheel. His hands rested lightly on its smooth, worn surface. The lights of the dashboard glowed a soft green and orange, casting a gentle light on his face. He was 22 years old. His world had become very small. It was the size of this bus, this route, this night. Outside, the city was a blur of dark buildings and yellow streetlights. Rain had fallen earlier, and the streets were black and shiny. They reflected the traffic lights that changed from red to green for a driver who was often the only one there to see them. This was Route 7. It was his father's route. Now it was his. His father's name was Arthur. He had died 2 months ago. It was sudden. One day he was here, smelling of coffee and the cool morning air. The next day he was gone. The silence he left behind was louder than any sound Leo had ever heard. Leo now lived in his father's apartment. It was a small place on the 3rd floor of an old brick building. All of his father's things were still there. A half-finished cup of coffee was still on the kitchen counter for a week before Leo could bring himself to pour it away. A jacket still hung on the back of a chair. The apartment felt like a museum of a man Leo was not sure he ever really knew. To feel close to him, to hold on to something, Leo did the only thing he could think of. He took his father's job. He learned to drive the big bus. He memorized the turns and the stops of Route 7. He drove through the night, just like his father did. Grief was a heavy thing. For Leo, it was a quiet passenger that sat in the seat right behind him. It did not speak. It did not pay a fare. It did not get off at any stop. It was just there, a constant wait. He did his job well. He was always on time. The doors of the bus opened with a soft hiss. They closed with a solid sound. He collected fares and gave out transfers. He did everything he was supposed to do, but he felt like a ghost. He was a ghost in his father's clothes, driving his father's bus, living his father's life. He wondered if anyone could see him at all. He felt transparent. The city at night was beautiful in a sad way, but he did not feel a part of it. He was just moving through it, a silent observer in a box of metal and glass. Chapter 1. The Weight of the Keys. Leo's day began when most people's day was ending. The sun would be a low orange line in the sky. The colors of the sunset would paint the windows of his small apartment. He would wake up to the sounds of people coming home from work. He could hear their footsteps on the stairs and the sound of their keys in their locks. He would sit on the edge of his bed and listen to the world waking down as he was waking up. His own routine was simple. It was a quiet set of actions that he repeated every evening. He would go to the kitchen and make a sandwich. He always made the same kind. He would eat it standing by the window, looking down at the street. Cars would pass, their headlights cutting through the growing dark. After he ate, he would get dressed in his uniform. The shirt was a plain blue color. The pants were a dark gray. The fabric was stiff. It was not his uniform. Not really. It was his father's spare one. It was a little too big for him in the shoulders. Every time he put it on, he felt the extra space where his father used to be. He would check his pockets, keys, wallet, phone. He would lock the door behind him, the sound of the lock clicking into place loud in the quiet hallway. He walked to the bus depot. It was a 20-minute walk. He liked the walk. It was a time to be alone with his thoughts before he had to be alone in the bus. The air at that time of day was cool and calm. The city was transitioning from the noise of the day to the quiet of the night. At the depot, there were other drivers. They were older men and women. They knew his father. They would nod at Leo. Sometimes they would say, "How are you holding up, son?" Leo would just nod back and say, "I am okay." He knew they meant well, but the words felt hollow. They could not understand the shape of his sadness. He would go to the board and find his bus number, number 42. It was always number 42. His father had driven this same bus for 10 years. It was old but reliable. Leo would take the keys from the hook. They were heavy in his hand. The weight of the keys felt like the weight of his new life. He would walk out into the vast lot filled with sleeping buses. He would find number 42, climb the 3 steep steps, and the night's work would begin. His shift started at 10 in the evening and ended at 6 in the morning. For 8 hours he drove in circles. The route took him from the quiet, tree-lined streets of the suburbs to the bright, lonely lights of the downtown area, and then back again. The passengers of the night were a small, consistent group. They were the people who worked when others slept. They were the people who could not sleep at all. Leo saw them every night, but he did not know them. In his mind, he did not even give them names. They were just figures, defined by where they got on and where they got off. There was the young woman. She always got on at the university stop. She carried a heavy bag full of books. She would sit in the same seat near the front, under a reading light. She had dark hair and wore glasses. She would open a book as soon as she sat down, and she would not look up until her stop. Leo saw the worry on her face some nights, the focused line of her mouth. He never spoke to her. She never spoke to him. She was just the student. There was the man who worked in a kitchen. He got on near the downtown restaurants. He wore a white cook's uniform that was always a little bit stained. He smelled of fried food and cleaning soap. He was always tired. His eyes were heavy, and he would often fall asleep, his head leaning against the cool glass of the window. Leo would have to call out his stop gently to wake him up. The man would mumble a thank you and step out into the night. He was just the cook. There was the old woman. She was the most mysterious. She would get on at a stop in a quiet residential neighborhood. She never paid with a card, always with a handful of warm coins. She would ride for only 3 stops, sitting perfectly straight in her seat. She would hum. It was not a happy tune. It was a low, sad melody that seemed to fill the whole bus. Then she would pull the cord, stand up, and get off, disappearing into the dark. She was just the humming woman. Leo saw these people as parts of the machine of his night. They were predictable, they were safe. Their presence was a part of the routine. He did not need to think about them. He just needed to open the doors for them. He drove the bus with a detached precision. He knew every pothole in the road, every traffic light that took too long to change. He watched the city pass by his windows. He saw late-night cafes with 1 or 2 people inside. He saw office buildings with a few lights on in the high floors, where someone was working late. He saw empty parks and silent playgrounds. The city was full of stories, but he was not reading them. He was just turning the pages. For 2 months, this was his life. A quiet loop of work, sleep, and solitude. The inside of the bus, especially the driver's cabin, still felt like it belonged to his father. Leo had not touched anything that did not need to be touched. A small air freshener shaped like a pine tree still hung from the mirror. It had long lost its scent, but Leo left it there. A small scuff mark on the dashboard from his father's coffee mug was still there. A faded sticker of a local sports team was stuck to the side window. These were small monuments to a man he missed with a quiet, aching pain. He was afraid that if he cleaned them away, he would be cleaning away the last parts of his father. But tonight, something felt different. The air was heavy. The bus felt stuffy. A layer of dust coated the surfaces of the driver's cabin. He could see it in the glow of the dashboard lights. For the first time, it bothered him. It felt disrespectful. It felt like letting a memory get dirty. At the quiet suburban turnaround point, he had a mandatory 10-minute break. The bus was empty. The engine idled with its low, familiar rumble. Instead of just sitting and waiting, Leo made a decision. He was going to clean it. He was going to clean his father's space. He got out the supplies from the storage compartment, a bottle of cleaning spray and a roll of rough paper towels. He started with the dashboard. He sprayed the clear liquid, and the smell of lemons filled the small space. It was a sharp, clean smell that cut through the usual scent of old upholstery and diesel. He wiped away the dust. The scuff mark from the coffee mug disappeared. He hesitated for a moment, a small pang of loss hitting him. But the surface was clean and black, and it felt right. He cleaned the inside of the large front window, wiping away streaks and smudges until the city lights outside looked sharp and clear. Then he turned his attention to the driver's seat. It was made of a tough, dark vinyl. It had a small tear on the side that his father had covered with black tape. Leo ran his hand over it. He remembered his father complaining about the springs in the seat. He knelt down to wipe the base of the seat, the metal part that connected it to the floor of the bus. It was awkward work. The space was small and cramped. He had to reach under the seat. It was dusty, and he could feel the grit on his fingertips. His hand brushed against something that was not metal or dust. It was soft but firm. He felt around. His fingers closed around the spine of a book. It was wedged deep underneath the seat, pushed all the way to the back. It must have been there for a long time. He pulled it out. It was not a company manual or a book of rules. It was a small, thick book bound in dark brown leather. The leather was soft and worn at the edges. There was no title on the cover. It was completely plain. He held it in his hands. It felt important. It felt personal. He ran his thumb over the smooth cover. He felt a strange mix of emotions. He was afraid of what he might find inside. He felt like he was trespassing, looking into a place he was not meant to see. But he also felt a powerful pull of curiosity. This was something of his father's that he had never seen before. It was a secret. The 10-minute break was almost over. He heard the distant sound of a car. He could not read the book now. He needed to be alone. He needed to be in the quiet of the apartment. He carefully placed the book in his own bag, the one he carried his sandwich and water bottle in. He put the cleaning supplies away. He got back into the driver's seat. The cabin smelled like lemons. It felt a little less like a museum and a little more like his own space. But the discovery of the book had changed the feeling of the night. The steady hum of the engine no longer felt monotonous. It felt like a drumbeat, leading him toward something. For the rest of his shift, he could not stop thinking about the book. It was a physical presence in his bag, a small, heavy weight that represented a whole world of his father's life that was unknown to him. He drove the route. The student got on, the cook got on, the humming woman got on and off. But tonight, Leo looked at them differently. He wondered what his father had thought of them. Did he see them as just stops on a route? Or did he see more? As he drove, the city lights seemed a little brighter. The shadows seemed a little deeper. The whole world felt like it was holding a secret, just like the leather book in his bag. When his shift finally ended, the first light of dawn was breaking. The sky was a soft gray and pink. He parked bus number 42 in its designated spot. He walked through the depot, the keys in his hand no longer feeling so heavy. He returned them to the hook on the wall. He nodded to the morning shift drivers who were just coming in, their faces fresh and awake. He walked home. The city was starting to wake up. Delivery trucks were making their first stops. The smell of baking bread came from a small bakery. The world was moving forward into a new day. Leo felt like he was about to move backward into the past. He got back to his apartment. The morning light filtered through the windows. He did not feel tired. He locked the door, dropped his bag on the small kitchen table, and took out the book. He sat down at the table, the same table where his father used to sit and read the morning paper. He held the book in both hands for a long moment. It was a connection to his father that was not about loss. It was about discovery. With a deep breath, he opened the cover. He did not know it yet, but he was about to start a new route, one that was not on any city map. Chapter 2. A different kind of map. The morning sun was a pale yellow light against the window shades of the small apartment. The city was alive with the sounds of a new day, but for Leo, the world had shrunk to the object on the kitchen table in front of him. The leather-bound book. He sat perfectly still, his hands resting on either side of it. The leather felt soft and cool under his fingertips. It was worn smooth in places, a sign that it had been held many times. It smelled of old paper and something else, a faint scent of his father's aftershave that still lingered in the closets. He had found a key, but he did not know what door it would open. For a long moment, he was afraid to turn it. He was afraid of what he would find, and perhaps more afraid of what he would not. He expected a book of numbers and facts, a logbook in the truest sense. He imagined columns of dates, times, and notes about the bus. Engine making a strange noise. Traffic light at Elm Street is broken. Heavy snow route delayed by 15 minutes. He pictured practical, straightforward notes from a practical, straightforward man. That was the father he knew. Arthur was a man of few words. He showed his love through actions. He would fix a leaky faucet without being asked. He would make sure Leo's car had a full tank of gas. He would offer a simple, solid piece of advice. He was a good father, a reliable man, but he was not a man of secrets or poetry. Leo felt he knew him completely, like a simple, well-made chair. Strong, dependable, and with no hidden compartments. This book, however, felt like a hidden compartment. Finally, he opened it. The pages were thick and creamy colored. They were filled with his father's handwriting. Leo recognized it immediately. It was the same handwriting from the birthday cards he received every year. It was neat and careful, with a slight forward slant. The ink was a dark blue, faded to a lighter shade in some parts. The first page was not a list of rules or bus parts. It was a single sentence, written in the center of the page. The night has a different map. Leo read the words again. The night has a different map. It was not a practical statement. It was a thought. It was a piece of a poem. This was the first surprise. He turned the page. The entries were dated. He saw dates from years ago, stretching back almost to the time his father first started driving bus number 42. He skimmed past them, his eyes catching phrases. The moon was so bright tonight, it made the streetlights look shy. A fox ran across the road at the edge of the park. Its eyes were like two small green lights. Leo's heart began to beat a little faster. This was not a logbook. This was a journal, a secret diary kept by the man he thought he knew. He felt a pang of guilt, as if he was reading something he was not meant to, but he could not stop. He had to know more. He had to understand. He decided to start from the most recent entries and work his way backward. He found a page from just a few months ago. At the top, his father had written a title, The Regulars. Underneath it was a list of names, but they were not real names. They were nicknames. The first one on the list was the Professor. Leo knew instantly who that was. The young woman from the university. He read the entry his father had written about her. The Professor got on again tonight. She had a new stack of books. One of them was about the stars. I wanted to tell her that the best way to learn about the stars is to look at them, not read about them. She looks so tired. She studies with such intensity, like she is trying to solve the biggest puzzle in the world. Maybe she is. Her puzzle is in those pages. Mine is out here, on these streets. She has a small smudge of ink on her right cheek. It has been there for 3 days. I wonder if she knows. I hope she passes her test. I hope she remembers to sleep. Leo sat back in his chair. He was stunned. His father had not just seen a student. He had seen a person. He had noticed details Leo had never bothered to see. The smudge of ink, the titles of her books. He had worried about her. He had felt a connection to her quiet struggle. Leo thought about the countless nights he had seen her get on the bus. He had never once thought about her tests or her sleep. He had only thought about her fare and her stop. He felt a small, sharp sting of shame. He read the entry again, the words painting a picture of his father that was completely new. He imagined Arthur sitting in the driver's seat during his 10-minute break, the cabin dark except for a small reading light, carefully writing these words in this book. He turned the page. The next name was the Knight. Leo pictured the tired cook in his white uniform. He read his father's words. The Knight came home from his battle tonight. He smelled of smoke and grease, the signs of a long fight in the kitchen. He works at that fancy Italian restaurant downtown. I see the happy couples leaving as I drive by. They are full and content. They do not see the tired Knight who cooked their food, who now just wants to go home and rest his feet. Some nights he smiles, a small, tired smile. On those nights I know it was a good service. He won. Tonight he did not smile. He fell asleep before the first turn. I made sure to wake him gently at his stop. Every worker of the night is a knight in their own way. We fight the darkness and the quiet so the world can be ready for the morning. Leo stared at the page, a knight. His father had seen the cook as a noble figure, a warrior. He had seen the dignity in his hard work. Leo had only ever smelled the grease. He had seen the stains on his uniform as just stains, not as a sign of battle. His father had a whole philosophy about the people of the night. It was a world with its own rules, its own heroes, and Arthur had been its quiet observer, its chronicler. This book was his map of that world. Leo felt a growing sense of awe. It was mixed with a deep sadness. Why had his father never shared this with him? Why had he kept this beautiful part of himself hidden away? Did he think Leo would not understand? Or was it just for him, a private world he built for himself during the long, lonely hours? He found the next entry, the nightingale. It had to be the humming woman. The nightingale sang her sad song tonight. The entry began. It is always the same tune. I do not know the name of it, but I know how it feels. It feels like a memory. It feels like a rainy afternoon and a goodbye. She only stays for 3 stops, just long enough to share her song with the bus, and then she is gone. The air is different after she leaves. It is filled with a sweet sadness. She never looks at anyone. She just looks out the window and hums to what she sees in the reflection. I wonder what story that song tells. I will never ask. Some stories do not need words. Leo closed his eyes. He could hear the woman's tune in his mind. He had always found it a little strange, a little unsettling, but his father had heard it as music. He had respected the privacy of her grief, the story held within her humming. He did not see an odd old woman. He saw a storyteller who used notes instead of words. Leo felt like he had been colorblind his whole life and had just been given glasses that let him see all the shades. The world of Route 7, which had been a simple black and white routine, was suddenly bursting with color and meaning. It was a place of professors, knights, and nightingales, and his father had been the king of this secret, gentle kingdom. He spent the whole morning reading the book. He learned about other passengers. There was the gardener, a man who worked the night shift at the city's botanical gardens and sometimes brought the scent of damp earth and flowers onto the bus with him. There was the juggler, a young man who was always practicing with 3 small balls, even while sitting on the bus, his hands a constant, silent motion. His father had written about them all with the same gentle curiosity, the same deep empathy. He saw their struggles, their small joys, their humanity. The book was a tapestry woven from the quiet lives of strangers. As the afternoon came, Leo knew he should sleep. He had a shift that night, but his mind was buzzing. He lay in his bed, the logbook on the nightstand next to him. He could not stop thinking about it. He looked around his father's bedroom, the simple wooden dresser, the stack of mystery novels by the bed, the framed photo of Leo as a child on the wall. It all looked the same, but it felt different. It felt like the room of a stranger, who was the man who read simple novels but wrote such thoughtful prose. Who was the man who could speak so plainly about the weather, but think so deeply about the moon? He realized that his grief was changing. Before he had been mourning the father he knew. Now he was mourning a man he was just getting to know, a man he would never be able to ask questions. He could never ask him about the professor's ink smudge or the knight's tired smile. He would never be able to sit with him and share the stories of the night. The discovery of the book was a gift, but it was also a new kind of pain. It was the pain of a missed connection, a conversation that could never happen. He finally fell into a restless sleep, the nicknames of the passengers echoing in his dreams. When he woke up, it was evening. The sun was setting. He went through his routine. He made his sandwich. He got dressed in the uniform that still felt too big. But as he walked to the depot, he was not just thinking about the turns and the stops. He was thinking about the people. He carried the logbook with him. He put it in his bag. He could not leave it behind. It felt like a guide, a map to the world he was about to enter. He felt a nervous energy he had not felt since his first day on the job. Tonight was not just another shift. It was a test. He wanted to see if he could see what his father saw. He climbed into bus number 42. The cabin was clean and smelled of lemons, a blank slate. He started the engine, its familiar rumble, a comforting sound. He pulled out of the depot and began the route. The streets were the same, the lights were the same, but Leo was different. He was paying attention. He was looking for the stories. He drove with a new focus, his eyes scanning the sidewalks, the bus stops, the faces of the people waiting. The first few stops were empty. Then he saw her, standing under the light at the university stop. The young woman, the professor. The bus slowed to a stop, and the doors hissed open. She climbed the steps, her head down, her focus already on the books in her arms. She swiped her card and moved to her usual seat. But tonight, he watched her. He looked for the details his father had written about. He saw the way she pushed her glasses up her nose with her index finger. He saw the title of the top book. It was about ancient history. And then he saw it. On her right cheek, almost hidden by a strand of dark hair, was a small, faint smudge of blue ink. His breath caught in his throat. It was real. His father had not been making it up. He had been seeing the truth. Leo felt a sudden, powerful connection to his father across time. For a moment, it was as if Arthur was sitting there next to him, pointing it out with a gentle smile. "See, I told you." Leo looked at the young woman again, not as a passenger, but as the professor. He saw the weight of the books. He saw the tiredness in the set of her shoulders. And for the first time, he felt a flicker of what his father must have felt. A quiet sense of empathy, a silent wish for her to do well. He pulled the bus back into traffic, his hands steady on the wheel, but his mind was racing. It was one thing to read the words in a book. It was another thing to see them come to life. The route continued. He drove through the brightly lit downtown area. He passed the Italian restaurant. A few people were standing outside, laughing. He rounded the corner to the bus stop, and there he was, the cook, the knight. He was leaning against the bus shelter, his eyes closed. He opened them as the bus approached. He got on, his movements slow and heavy. He smelled of garlic and soap. Leo watched him find a seat. He saw the deep lines of exhaustion around his eyes. He saw a small, red burn mark on his forearm that was not there the night before. His father's words came back to him. A battle. This man had just come from a battle. Leo no longer saw just a tired worker. He saw a man who had provided for others, who had faced the heat and the pressure, and who was now on his journey home. Later, in the quietest part of the night, the bus stopped in the residential neighborhood. The old woman got on. The nightingale, she dropped her coins into the machine. The metal sounds loud in the silence. She sat in her usual spot, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. And then she began to hum. Leo listened. He did not just hear a random tune anymore. He listened for the feeling his father had described. He heard the sadness in it. It was a simple melody, but it held a deep sense of longing. It was the sound of a memory. He drove the 3 stops she stayed on, the humming filling the bus. It was not unsettling tonight. It was beautiful. When she pulled the cord and got off, the silence she left behind felt different. It was not empty. It was thoughtful. It was, as his father had written, filled with a sweet sadness. For the rest of the night, Leo felt like he was living inside his father's book. The city was no longer just a collection of streets and buildings. It was a stage, and the people getting on and off his bus were the actors. He, the driver, had the best seat in the house. But as the hours passed, another feeling began to grow inside him, a feeling of inadequacy. His father had not just seen these things, he had understood them. He had found the words to describe them, to give them meaning. Leo could see the details now. He could see the ink smudge and the burn mark. He could hear the sadness in the song, but he did not know what it all meant. He felt like a student trying to read a language he did not speak. He could recognize the letters, but he could not form the words. He could see the map his father had drawn, but he did not know how to navigate it. He had the book, but he did not have the wisdom. As the sun began to rise, painting the eastern sky with soft shades of pink and gray. Leo drove the bus back to the depot for the last time that night. He felt more tired than usual, but it was not a physical tiredness. His mind was exhausted from all the new thoughts, all the new feelings. He had discovered a new world, but he felt like a stranger in it. He knew that driving this route would never be the same again. The simple, monotonous job had become something complex and challenging. He was no longer just driving a bus. He was carrying stories, and he had to figure out what to do with them. He parked bus number 42, took his bag with the precious book inside, and stepped out into the cool morning air. He had his father's map. Now he had to learn how to read it. He had to learn to see the night through his own eyes, not just his father's. Chapter 3: The First Word. The days that followed were a quiet blur. For Elio, he would finish his shift as the sun rose, walk home through the waking city, and enter the stillness of his father's apartment. Sleep did not come easily. His mind was too active, too full of the looping cursive of his father's handwriting. He would lie in bed, the logbook resting on his chest, and read. He did not read it from front to back. Instead, he found himself drawn to one section, one character, over and over again. He kept returning to the pages about the professor. Her entries were scattered throughout the book, a quiet thread running through the years. His father had noticed her from the very beginning, when she was a nervous first-year student. He had watched her grow more confident, her stack of books getting thicker and more complex with each passing semester. Leo read about the time she fell asleep on the bus and missed her stop, and his father had gently woken her and driven her back, breaking the rules of the route because he did not want her to have to walk so far in the dark. He read about the time she was crying quietly into her hands, and his father had simply turned up the heat on the bus and said nothing, offering a small, silent comfort. He read about his father's admiration for her dedication, her focus. He called her a scholar of the night, a person who chose to seek knowledge while the rest of the city slept. The more Leo read, the more real she became. She was no longer just a passenger, or even just a character in a book. She was a person his father had cared about, and in a strange way, Leo began to feel that he was inheriting that care. He felt a responsibility to see her as his father had, to understand the quiet world she lived in. This new feeling was a small, warm thing in the cold emptiness of his grief. It was a purpose, but it was also terrifying. His father had been an observer. He had watched from the safety of his driver's seat and recorded his thoughts in the privacy of his book. He had built a world of connection that was entirely one-sided. Leo felt an impulse to do something more. He wanted to cross the invisible line between the driver and the passenger. He wanted to speak. The thought was simple, but the execution felt like planning to climb a mountain. He was not a man who started conversations. His life was a series of quiet, predictable movements. He bought groceries at the self-checkout line. He ordered coffee through an app so he did not have to talk to the barista. His interactions were designed to be as brief and as silent as possible. To speak to the professor, to Maya, as he now knew her name was, felt like a violation of his own deeply held rules. The first night he decided to try, his heart hammered against his ribs. He rehearsed a single simple sentence in his head. The sentence he had read in the logbook. Big test coming up. It was perfect. It was not too personal. He said it over and over to himself as he drove the first part of his route. He pictured the conversation. He would say the line. She would be surprised. Then she would smile and say yes. Maybe she would even tell him what the test was about. It seemed so easy in his mind. Then he saw her, waiting at the university stop. The bus slowed down. The doors hissed open. She climbed the steps, her eyes on her books. She swiped her card. She was right in front of him. This was the moment. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His throat felt tight and dry. The moment stretched for a second, then two. She gave him a brief, questioning look, then moved past him to her seat. The doors closed. Leo pulled the bus away from the curb, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. He felt a hot wave of shame wash over him. He was a coward. He had failed. For the rest of the night, he avoided looking at her in the rearview mirror. He felt like a fool. The next night, he was determined to be better. He told himself that words were too much. He would start smaller. He would just make eye contact and smile. A simple, friendly smile that was not so hard. He practiced in the small mirror in his bathroom before his shift. The smile in the reflection looked forced, like a grimace. He tried again, thinking of something pleasant. He thought of his father's gentle descriptions in the book. A small, genuine smile appeared. He could do this. He drove his route, his resolve firm. He reached the university stop. He saw her waiting. The doors opened. She got on. He looked at her, ready to offer his practiced smile, but her head was down. She was fumbling with her bag, trying to find her bus pass. She did not look up. She swiped her card and walked to her seat, her face a mask of concentration. The opportunity was gone before it had even arrived. Leo let out a slow breath he did not realize he had been holding. He felt a strange mix of disappointment and relief. He had failed again, but at least this time it was not his fault. The world had conspired to keep him silent. This thought was a small comfort, but he knew it was an excuse. Several nights passed in this way. Each night, Leo would build up his courage. Each night, he would find a reason not to act. One night, another passenger got on right behind her, and the moment was too crowded. Another night she was on the phone, her voice a low, serious murmur. Another night, he was running a few minutes late, and he told himself he did not have time for a conversation. His shyness was a fortress, and he was an expert at building its walls higher and thicker. During this time of silent observation, however, he started to notice more. He was not just looking for the ink smudge anymore. He was seeing the whole person. He noticed the way she would chew on the end of her pen when she was thinking hard. He noticed that she always wore the same pair of worn-out gray sneakers. He noticed that on rainy nights, she smelled faintly of wet wool from her coat. He noticed the small, almost invisible tremor in her hands when she held a particularly heavy book, a sign of both physical and mental exhaustion. These small details made her more human to him. She was not just the professor from his father's stories. She was Maya, a young woman who was working incredibly hard, who was tired, who was probably stressed. He felt a growing sense of empathy that was starting to become stronger than his fear. He reread his father's entries about her, but this time he was looking for a different kind of clue. He was not looking for a line to say. He was looking for the source of his father's courage. But he realized his father's courage was in his observation, in his quiet caring. Arthur had never spoken to her either, not in the way Leo was planning to. His father's connection was a silent one. Leo understood that he was trying to do something his father had never done. He was trying to turn the silent map into a spoken conversation. This was his own journey, not just a continuation of his father's. One night, about a week after he had first decided to speak, Maya got on the bus and she looked different. She looked defeated. The usual fire of concentration in her eyes was gone. She moved slowly, as if her limbs were heavy. She sat in her seat and did not open a book. She just stared out the window at the dark passing streets. Her shoulders were slumped. Leo watched her in the rearview mirror. He saw her raise a hand and rub her tired eyes. In that small, simple gesture, he saw a world of frustration and exhaustion. He knew this was the night. He could not let another opportunity pass. He could not let her sit there in her quiet despair without offering some small sign that she was seen. He thought about his father's words, "A small kindness is never wasted." He thought about the loneliness of his own life, the heavy silence of his apartment. He knew what it felt like to feel invisible. He did not want her to feel that way. His fear was still there. It was a cold knot in his stomach. But for the first time, his desire to offer a moment of human connection was stronger. He drove the bus, his mind clear and focused on one single goal. He would speak to her when she got off. It was less direct, less confrontational. He could say something as she was leaving. Her stop was approaching. He watched her in the mirror. She pulled the cord to signal her stop. The bell made a soft dinging sound on the quiet bus. She stood up and gathered her heavy bag. She walked to the front of the bus as he pulled over to the curb. The bus came to a complete stop. The doors hissed open, letting in a rush of cool night air. She was standing right next to him, ready to step out into the darkness. It was now or never. The cold knot of fear in his stomach tightened. His palms were sweating on the steering wheel. He could just let her go. He could stay in his safe, silent world. But he looked at her tired face, at the slump of her shoulders, and he knew he could not. He took a shallow breath. He opened his mouth, and this time the words came out. His voice was a little rough, a little quieter than he intended. Big test coming up. The sound of his own voice surprised him. It sounded strange in the quiet bus. Maya stopped on the top step, her back still to him. For a second, he thought she had not heard him, or maybe she was going to ignore him. He felt a familiar surge of panic, the certainty that he had made a terrible mistake. But then she turned around. She looked at him. Her eyes were wide with surprise. She had probably ridden this bus hundreds of times, and the silent driver had never spoken a single word. "Yes," she said. Her voice was soft, a very big one. "How did you know?" Leo's mind went blank. He had not prepared for a follow-up question. He had only focused on getting the first sentence out. He fumbled for an answer. "Oh, I see you studying every night," he managed to say. "You work very hard." A small, tired smile touched her lips. It was the first time he had ever seen her smile. It changed her whole face. It was like a little bit of light turning on. "I try," she said. "Thank you." Then she turned and stepped off the bus, disappearing into the night. The doors hissed shut. Leo sat there for a long moment, his heart pounding in his chest. The entire conversation had lasted less than 10 seconds. It was just a few simple words, but it felt monumental. It felt like he had climbed the mountain. He pulled the bus away from the curb, his hands feeling light on the wheel. He replayed the scene in his head, her look of surprise, her small, tired smile. The sound of her voice. He had spoken, and the world had not ended. In fact, a feeling of warmth spread through his chest. It was a feeling he had not had in a long time. It was not happiness, not exactly. It was something smaller, quieter. It was the feeling of connection. He had reached out into the quiet of the night, and for a brief moment, someone had reached back. The dark, lonely bus did not feel so lonely anymore. It was as if a single, small candle had been lit in a vast, dark room. The room was still dark, but it was no longer completely black. There was a point of light. he continued his route. He saw the night get on later that night. The cook looked as tired as ever, but tonight, Leo saw him differently again. He was not just a character from his father's book anymore. He was a person, just like Maya, a person with his own struggles, his own story. Leo felt a new curiosity. He wanted to know their stories. He wanted to know what battles the knight had fought in his kitchen. He wanted to know what memory the nightingale was humming. The logbook had given him the names, the characters, but the conversation with Maya had given him something more. It had given him the desire to discover the rest of the story for himself. He drove through the sleeping city, the engine a steady hum beneath him. He was still the driver of the night bus. He was still the son of Arthur. But tonight, he felt like something more. He felt like Leo, a person who could speak, a person who could connect. The fear was not gone. He knew it would be back. But now he also knew that he could be stronger than his fear. The weight of his father's keys in his pocket felt a little bit lighter. He was not just carrying the burden of a legacy anymore. He was starting to build his own. The night still had its own map, the one his father had written about. But Leo was beginning to draw his own lines on it, with his own voice, starting with a single, tentative word. He knew he had a long way to go, but for the first time since his father had died, he felt like he was on the right road. Chapter 4: A Ghost on the Route. The Small Victory with Maya. The professor had shifted something inside Leo. It was like a single drop of rain on a vast, dry desert. It was not enough to make anything grow, but it was enough to prove that rain was still possible. The bus no longer felt like a rolling coffin. It now felt like a place of possibilities. His shyness had not vanished. It was still a heavy coat he wore every day. But now he knew he could, if he tried very hard, unbutton it for a moment. He started to nod at the night when he got on the bus. The tired cook would nod back, a small gesture of recognition that passed between two people of the night. Leo even tried a small, hesitant wave to the nightingale as she got off at her stop one evening. She did not seem to notice her focus on the dark street ahead, but it did not matter. The act of waving was for him. It was a muscle he was slowly learning to use. His mornings were now dedicated to the logbook. It had become a ritual. He would come home, the gray light of dawn filling his small kitchen, and he would sit with the book and a cup of tea. He felt like an archaeologist carefully brushing the dust off a precious artifact. He had read and reread the entries about the regular passengers so many times he had them nearly memorized. He knew about the time the gardener had found a rare night-blooming flower. He knew about the time the juggler had finally mastered a new trick, practicing silently at the back of the bus. He knew these small, captured moments of other people's lives. He felt a deep sense of gratitude to his father for this gift. His father had given him a family of strangers. One morning, after he had finished reading about the night's particularly difficult shift, he realized he had come to the end of the main section. The pages that followed were different. They were less organized. The handwriting was sometimes rushed, sometimes slow and deliberate. These were older entries from a time before his father had started giving his passengers special names. Leo felt a small pang of disappointment. He thought the best part of the book was over. He almost closed it, but something made him keep going. He was not ready to leave this world his father had built. He turned the page. The entries were short. Late again tonight. Road work on Miller Avenue. The rain was so heavy I could barely see the road. These were the kind of notes he had originally expected to find. They were practical, factual. He kept flipping through, his interest fading a little with each page. He passed through months, then years, the pages a blur of dates and brief comments about the weather or the traffic. And then he saw it, a single letter standing alone. E. The entry was simple. E was on the bus tonight. The last one, as always. Leo paused. Who was E? It was not a nickname like the others. It was just an initial. He read the entry again. The last one, as always. He kept reading. A few pages later, another entry. Talked with E about the new building they are putting up downtown. She called it a glass monster. I agree, a conversation. This was different. His father had observed the other passengers. He wrote about them, but he did not write about talking with them. Leo's curiosity was reignited. He started to scan the older pages, his eyes no longer looking for stories, but for that one single letter. He found another, and another. A pattern began to emerge. The entries about E were always linked to the end of the route. The final stop was a quiet turnaround at the edge of a suburban neighborhood called Willow Creek. It was the place where Leo took his 10-minute break before starting the loop all over again. In all the time Leo had been driving, no one ever got on or off at that stop. It was just a quiet, lonely piece of road. But for his father, it had clearly been a destination. Leo became a detective. He went through the book, page by page, this time with a new purpose. He started at the very beginning and worked his way forward, searching for every mention of E. He found that the entries started about 5 years ago. At first, they were as simple as the others. E got on at Willow Creek, but soon they began to change. They grew longer. They became more personal. Leo felt his heart begin to beat faster. He was discovering a secret friendship, a part of his father's life that was completely hidden. He read an entry from 4 years ago. E pointed out Orion through the front window tonight. She told me the old stories about the hunter and the stars. She said the stars are just stories the sky tells itself. I have driven under those same stars my whole life and never once thought of them as a story. She has a way of seeing the world that makes it feel new. Leo looked out his own apartment window. The sun was rising, washing out the last of the night sky. He had never learned the names of the constellations. His father had. A woman on his bus had taught him. He turned to another entry. E is an artist. She works with colors. Tonight, she was talking about the color of the city at night. She said it is not just black and yellow. She said there is the deep blue of the sky right after the sun goes down, the orange glow from the streetlights, the cold white of the signs in the shop windows, and the warm, soft yellow from the windows of people's homes. She said a city at night is a painting. I will never look at the streetlights the same way again. To his father and to E, it was a work of art. The entries painted a picture of a deep and meaningful friendship. It was a quiet friendship, one that existed only in the space of the night bus, on the last leg of the last route. They talked about books and music. They talked about growing older. They talked about the small, funny things they saw during their days. His father wrote about her laugh. He said it was a quiet, gentle sound, like the ringing of a small bell. He wrote about her hands, how they were always smudged with paint or charcoal. He wrote about her wisdom, the simple, clear way she saw the world. Leo felt a strange mix of emotions. He was happy for his father. He was happy that his quiet, solitary father had found such a rich connection, a friend to share the lonely hours with. But he also felt a sharp pang of jealousy. This was a side of his father that Leo had never seen. The man who talked about art and the stars with E was not the same man who sat at the dinner table with Leo, talking about the weather or the leaky faucet. Leo had gotten the practical father. E had gotten the poetic one. The thought was unfair, and he felt guilty for it, but it was there nonetheless. He was reading about a man he wished he had known better. He kept reading, his tea growing cold beside him. He felt like he was racing toward something. He was getting closer and closer to the present day. The entries about E became the most detailed, the most emotional parts of the entire logbook. His father was no longer just a driver, and she was no longer just a passenger. They were confidants. They were friends. Then he reached the last few pages of the book. The entries were from a few months ago. The tone of his father's writing shifted. There was a new sense of purpose in his words. He wrote about a project he was working on in his small workshop in the back of the apartment. Leo knew the workshop. It was a dusty little room filled with tools and scraps of wood. His father had always liked to fix things, to work with his hands, but he had never mentioned a specific project, the logbook explained. Working on the box for E, the wood is from the old oak tree that used to stand at the Willow Creek stop. They cut it down last year. She was so sad about it. I saved a piece. I want to make her something to remember it by. Leo's breath caught in his throat. He remembered the old oak tree. It had been huge, its branches spreading out over the road. He had not even really noticed when it was gone, but his father and E had mourned its loss, and his father had decided to do something about it. He had decided to turn a piece of that loss into something beautiful. He found the next entry about the box a few weeks later. The box is almost done. I have been sanding it for days. I want it to be as smooth as a river stone. It has to be perfect. It is for her pencils. She has a special set that her husband gave her before he passed away. She keeps them in an old cardboard box. They deserve a better home, a home for her husband's gift, made from a memory of a tree they both loved. It was the most thoughtful thing Leo had ever heard of. He flipped to the very last page. There was only one entry on it. The handwriting was neat and firm. The date at the top of the page sent a chill through him. It was the day before his father died. He read the words, his heart pounding. Bringing the package for E tomorrow. It is finally finished. Leo closed the book. The silence in the apartment was deafening. That was it, the end of the story. His father had finished the box. He had planned to give it to her the next night. But there was no next night for him. The package was never delivered. The final beautiful act of his friendship was left undone. A powerful feeling washed over Leo. It was a feeling of intense, burning purpose. He understood now this was more than just a book of stories. It was a last will and testament. It was a final, unfinished task that had been passed on to him. His grief, which had been a heavy, shapeless weight, now had a direction. It had a name. He had to find E. He had to deliver the package. It was the most important thing in the world. That night, his shift felt completely different. The regular passengers were still there. The Professor Maya gave him a small, shy smile when she got on, and he smiled back. The knight nodded his greeting. The nightingale hummed her sad song. Leo saw them all, but his mind was somewhere else. His mind was at the end of the line. His entire focus, his entire being, was pointed toward the final stop at Willow Creek. The hours crawled by. Each stop, each turn, felt like an obstacle, a delay. He drove through the suburbs, through the downtown core, and back again. He watched the clock on the dashboard. Finally, it was time for the last leg of the route. The bus was empty. It was just him, the hum of the engine, and the ghost of his father's last intention. He turned onto the final street, the one that led to the turnaround. The streetlights here were older, casting a soft yellow glow. The houses were dark, their inhabitants asleep. He passed the spot where the old oak tree used to be. Now it was just a patch of grass. He imagined his father driving this same route, night after night, the anticipation of his conversation with E growing with each turn of the wheels. He felt a deep connection to him in that moment, a shared journey toward a single person. He pulled the bus into the turnaround spot, the designated last stop. He stopped the bus and opened the doors just as he was supposed to, and he waited. He stared at the empty bus shelter. It was a simple structure, just a bench and a plastic roof. The light inside it was broken, so it was just a dark shape against the night sky. He scanned the street in both directions. There was nothing, no movement, no sign of anyone waiting. The only sound was the idling of the bus engine. He waited for the full minute he was required to wait. It was the longest minute of his life. He felt a desperate hope rising in his chest. Maybe she was just running late. Maybe she would appear from the shadows of one of the houses. But no one came. The street remained empty and silent. His 10-minute break began. He turned off the engine, and the silence became even deeper. He sat in the driver's seat, his hands gripping the wheel, and stared out at the empty stop. Where was she? The disappointment was a physical thing. It felt like a weight pressing down on his chest. He had been so sure. He had felt so close to the answer, but there was nothing here, just a quiet street and an empty bench. He stayed there for his full break, his eyes never leaving the bus shelter, hoping for a flicker of movement. The 10 minutes passed. It was time to start the route again. He started the engine, closed the doors, and pulled the bus away from the curb, leaving the empty stop behind. The next night was the same. He drove his route with the same burning anticipation. He reached the final stop. He waited, and again no one came. Night after night, the pattern repeated itself. The hope he felt as he approached Willow Creek, and the heavy disappointment he felt as he left. The last stop of the route had become a symbol of his frustration. It was a question with no answer. It was a ghost on his route. He started to talk to the empty stop as he waited. "Where are you, E?" he would whisper into the quiet of the bus. "He had something for you." He realized that his father's map had led him to a dead end. The book had given him the story, but it had not given him the location. E was not here anymore. Something had changed. He thought about the last entry again. His father had died 2 months ago. In that time, anything could have happened. She could have moved. She could have gotten sick. He felt a cold dread creep into his thoughts. He did not want to consider the worst possibility. He could not fail. He had to complete this one last thing for his father. He had to see the story through to its end. Sitting in his bus, waiting at the empty stop each night, was not going to be enough. He understood now that to find this ghost from his father's past, he would have to do something he had never done before. He would have to get off the bus. He would have to step out into the daylight world and start searching. Chapter 5. The Search for E. The decision to search for E in the daylight was a monumental shift for Leo. His life was ordered by the rhythms of the night. The sun was something he mostly saw through his bedroom window before pulling the shades down to sleep. To venture out into the bright, noisy world of the day felt like stepping onto a different planet. The city he knew was a place of quiet streets, yellow lights, and sleeping houses. The city of the day was a roaring, chaotic thing, full of people and cars and a million different sounds. He was a creature of the night, and the sun felt like a harsh, interrogating lamp. But the ghost of E was stronger than his discomfort. The need to complete his father's final task had become the single most important thing in his life. It was a mission, a pilgrimage. It was the only way he knew how to properly say goodbye. His first step was to change his entire schedule. After his shift, he no longer went home to read and then sleep. Instead, he forced himself to stay awake. He would drink a strong cup of tea, the one his father used to drink, and prepare for his journey. His plan was simple, because it was the only one he could think of. He would go back to the last stop, the one at Willow Creek, and he would start asking questions. Someone in that quiet residential neighborhood had to know something. They had to remember an artist who waited for the last bus of the night. The first time he did it, he felt incredibly out of place. He took a different bus to get there, a bus full of people going to work, to school, to their daytime lives. He was a passenger, not a driver, and the feeling was strange. He sat by a window wearing a simple jacket and jeans instead of his uniform, and felt completely anonymous. No one looked at him. No one knew the urgency of his mission. He was just another person on a bus, heading toward a quiet suburb in the middle of a Tuesday morning. He got off at the stop closest to the Willow Creek turnaround. The neighborhood looked completely different in the sunlight. The houses were not just dark shapes anymore. They were neat little homes with green lawns and colorful flower beds. He saw children playing in a yard, their laughter bright and sharp in the clean air. He saw a man washing his car, the spray from the hose creating a small rainbow. It was a peaceful, ordinary place. It felt a million miles away from the silent, mysterious stop he visited every night. He walked to the final bus stop. The empty bus shelter looked small and sad in the daylight. The bench was weathered with peeling paint. He stood there for a long time, trying to imagine E. He tried to picture her waiting here, her art supplies in a bag at her feet. He tried to imagine her climbing the steps of his father's bus, a smile on her face. The place was full of his father's memories, but it offered no clues. He looked at the houses that lined the street. They were his only lead. He had to knock on a door. The thought made his stomach clench. Talking to Maya had been difficult enough. This was different. This was approaching complete strangers, interrupting their day, and asking them about a ghost. He felt like a salesman, or worse, a nuisance. He stood on the sidewalk for what felt like an hour, his feet rooted to the spot. He watched a mail carrier go from house to house, a simple, confident routine. He wished he had that kind of purpose. He took a deep breath. He had to do it, for his father. For E, he chose the house directly across the street from the bus stop. It was a small, tidy house with a white picket fence. There were bright red flowers planted in a window box. He walked up the short path, his footsteps loud on the concrete. He raised his hand to knock on the blue-painted door. His hand was shaking. He knocked 3 times. The sound was loud and final. There was no turning back now. He waited. He could hear a television playing inside. Then footsteps. The door opened, and a woman with kind, curious eyes looked out at him. She was older, with gray hair tied back in a neat bun. She was wiping her hands on an apron. "Can I help you?" she asked. Leo's carefully rehearsed words flew out of his head. He stammered, "Hello, I am sorry to bother you. My name is Leo. I am looking for someone." He felt his face flush with heat. He sounded like a lost child. The woman's expression softened. "Looking for someone? Are you lost?" No, not exactly, Leo said, forcing himself to speak more slowly. I am looking for a woman who used to live around here. An artist. She used to take the last bus of the night from that stop over there. He pointed a trembling finger toward the bus shelter. The woman's face lit up with recognition. Oh, you must mean Eliza. Leo's heart leaped. Eliza, the initial E. It was her. Yes, he said, his voice filled with a rush of relief. Eliza, that is her. The woman's smile faded a little. Oh dear, Eliza does not live here anymore. Not for a few years now. The house she lived in, the little yellow one at the end of the street, it was torn down last year to make way for that new development. Leo's heart sank just as quickly as it had risen. The house was gone. He looked down the street and saw a row of new, identical-looking townhouses where an older, smaller house might have stood. A dead end. He felt a wave of despair. Oh, he said, the single word holding all of his disappointment. I did not know. The woman saw the look on his face. Are you a relative of hers? She asked gently. No, Leo said. Not a relative. A friend of a friend. It was the simplest way to explain it. It is very important that I find her. Do you have any idea where she might have gone? The woman thought for a moment, her brow furrowed. Well, I know she did not have any family nearby. After her fall, she had to move. It was a shame. We all missed her. She was such a lovely woman, always had a kind word for everyone. She paused. I think she went to a nursing home, one of those assisted living places. I am afraid I do not know the name of it. It was a while ago, a nursing home. The words hung in the air. It was a clue, a fragile thread to hold on to, but it was also a sad thought. He imagined the vibrant, life-loving woman from his father's journal, living in a place like that. Thank you, Leo said to the woman. You have been very helpful. I wish I could tell you more, she said. I do hope you find her. She was a special person. Leo walked away from the little house, his mind racing. The house was gone, but the person was not. She was somewhere. He had a new piece of the puzzle. A nursing home. But the city was a big place. There were dozens of nursing homes. How could he possibly find the right one? He spent the rest of the day walking around the neighborhood. He talked to a few other people. An old man who was out gardening remembered Eliza. He called her the painter lady. He confirmed that she had a bad fall and had to move away. No one knew the name of the nursing home. They just knew she was gone. The trail was cold. The friendly, sunny neighborhood had given him a name, Eliza, but it had taken away her home. That night, Leo drove his route with a heavy heart. The empty stop at Willow Creek felt even sadder now that he knew the yellow house was gone. He imagined his father pulling up to this stop night after night and seeing not his friend, but an empty space where her house used to be. He wondered when his father had found out. He went back to the logbook. He searched the entries from the last year. He found it. A short, simple entry, written in a shaky hand. Eliza's house is gone. That was all. There were no more entries about E after that. His father had stopped writing about her, not because she was gone, Leo realized, but because the pain of her absence from that place was too much to write about. He must have known where she was. He was still making the box for her. Their friendship had not ended. It had just moved. But where? Leo knew he could not give up. The search had to continue. His next idea was more systematic, more logical. He would go to the city library. The library was a place of facts and records. It was a quiet, orderly world that felt more comfortable to him than knocking on strangers' doors. He went the next day. The library was a grand old building with high ceilings and the comforting smell of old books. He felt a sense of calm settle over him as he walked through the tall shelves. He did not know where to start. He went to the information desk, a place he usually avoided at all costs. A librarian with a kind face and half-moon glasses looked up at him. Leo explained his situation. He was looking for an artist named Eliza. He knew she used to live in Willow Creek. He knew she had moved to a nursing home a few years ago. He was trying to find out which one. The librarian was patient and methodical. She showed him how to use the library's computers to search through public records and old phone directories. It was slow, painstaking work. He searched for Eliza's last name, but there were several people with that name. He tried to narrow it down by address, but the old address at Willow Creek was no longer in the system. He spent hours staring at the computer screen, his eyes burning. He felt like he was looking for a single grain of sand on a vast beach. He took a break and walked through the aisles of the library, his mind numb with frustration. He found himself in the local history section. There were old maps of the city, books about its founding, and photo albums of a time long past. On a whim, he pulled out a book of local artists from the last 50 years. He flipped through the pages. There were paintings of the city skyline, sculptures from the public park, portraits of important people. He did not expect to find anything. It was a long shot. And then he saw it, a painting that felt instantly familiar. It was a painting of a street at night, seen from a high angle, as if from the front window of a large vehicle. It was dark, but full of color. The deep blue of the sky, the orange of the streetlights, the white of the shop signs. It was the city he saw every night, but it was rendered with a beauty and a feeling he had never been able to articulate. He read the caption at the bottom of the page. "City Nocturne," it said, by Eliza Thorne. Underneath, there was a short biography. It mentioned that her work often focused on the hidden beauty of the city at night. It said she was a beloved figure in the local art community, and at the very end, it listed the gallery that represented her work. Leo felt a jolt of electricity. A gallery. This was a real, solid lead. A place of business. A place he could go. A place that would have records. He wrote down the name and address of the gallery on a scrap of paper. He felt a surge of hope so powerful it almost made him dizzy. He had found another thread. He thanked the librarian profusely and practically ran out of the library, the scrap of paper clutched in his hand like a winning lottery ticket. The gallery was in a trendy part of downtown, an area he usually only drove through in the dead of night. During the day, it was bustling with people. The gallery was a clean, white space with bright lights and large, colorful paintings on the walls. Leo felt out of his element. He felt too quiet, too plain for such a vibrant place. A young woman with stylish clothes and a confident smile approached him. "Welcome. Can I help you find anything?" Leo showed her the name on his scrap of paper. "I am looking for information about an artist," he said, his voice quiet. "Eliza Thorne." The young woman's professional smile warmed into a genuine one. "Oh, Eliza. She is one of our favorites. We have a few of her pieces in the back. Are you interested in purchasing?" "No," Leo said quickly. "I am just trying to find her. I am a friend. I understand she moved into a nursing home, and I have lost touch." The woman's expression became sympathetic. "Ah, yes. It was so sad when she had to stop painting. A great loss for the city. She is in a wonderful place, though. The Silver Creek Senior Residence. It is just on the other side of town." She wrote the name and address down on a clean white card and handed it to Leo. "They have an art program there. I hear she still helps the other residents with their painting." Leo took the card. His hand was steady. He had it. The name, the address, the end of the search. He felt an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," he said to the woman. "Thank you so much." He could not stop saying it. He backed out of the gallery, his eyes fixed on the card in his hand. He had found her. He had followed the faint trail his father had left, from a dusty book under a bus seat to a quiet suburban street, to the hushed aisles of a library, to this bright, clean gallery. The journey was almost over. Now came the final, most important part. He had a delivery to make. He had to go to the Silver Creek senior residence. He had to find Eliza, and he had to give her the package his father had made for her, a final message of a friendship that had lived and breathed in the quiet hours of the night. The thought filled him with a nervous, excited energy. He was no longer just his father's son, following a map. He was a messenger, carrying a story to its final destination. Chapter 6. The Package and the Pencils. The Silver Creek senior residence was a long, low building set back from the road, surrounded by carefully tended gardens. It did not look like the sad, sterile place Leo had imagined. It had large windows that let in the afternoon sun, and the sound of soft music drifted from an open door. Still, Leo's steps were slow and heavy as he walked up the main path. His journey to find this place had been driven by a clear, simple purpose. But now that he was here, a wave of uncertainty washed over him. The search was over. Now came the meeting. Who was he to this woman? He was a stranger, the son of a man she knew. He was a ghost from a part of her life that was over. He was about to walk into her new life, uninvited, carrying a piece of her past. He felt a profound sense of intrusion. For a moment, standing at the glass entrance doors, he considered turning around and leaving. He could just leave the box at the front desk. It would be easier, safer. But he knew he could not. This was not a simple delivery. It was a story that needed to be told, a connection that needed to be made in person. He owed it to his father. He owed it to Eliza. He took a deep breath, the air smelling of freshly cut grass and roses, and pushed the door open. The inside was quiet and calm. The air smelled of lemon polish and something sweet, perhaps cookies, baking. A woman at a reception desk looked up and smiled at him. "Can I help you?" He walked toward her, his footsteps echoing softly on the polished floor. "I am here to see Eliza Thorne," he said, his voice barely a whisper. The name felt strange and formal on his lips. In his mind, she was still just E. The receptionist checked a list. "Eliza is in the sunroom, dear. It is just down the hall to the left. She is likely with her painting group." Leo thanked her and started down the wide, carpeted hallway. The walls were decorated with framed paintings. As he got closer, he realized they were not professional works of art. They were simpler, with bright, bold colors. They were paintings of flowers, of houses, of pets. They were full of a clumsy, heartfelt joy. He was walking through a gallery of memories and happy thoughts. He found the sunroom at the end of the hall. It was a large, bright space with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out onto the gardens. Several elderly residents were seated at tables, working with paints and paper. In the center of the room, a woman was standing, leaning over a man's shoulder, pointing at his painting and speaking in a low, encouraging voice. She was old, her hair a soft, snowy white. She was a little stooped, and she used a simple wooden cane for support. But her eyes, even from across the room, were bright and full of life. Leo knew, with an absolute certainty, that resonated deep in his bones that this was her. This was Eliza. He stood in the doorway, unseen, for a long time. He just watched her. He watched the way her hands, though wrinkled and dotted with age spots, moved with a graceful confidence as she gestured toward the paints. He watched the way her face lit up when a resident showed her their finished work. She was still an artist. She was still a teacher. She was still sharing her way of seeing the world, just as she had shared it with his father on the night bus. She was not a sad, forgotten woman in a nursing home. She was the heart of this bright, colorful room. Finally, he gathered his courage. He was not carrying the box. It was at home, in his father's workshop, waiting for the right moment. First, he had to see if she would even want to see him. He took a small step into the room. One of the residents noticed him and looked up. The small movement caught Eliza's attention. She turned from the painting she was inspecting and looked toward the doorway. Her bright eyes met his. He saw a flicker of confusion in her expression, but no recognition. Of course not. Why would she recognize him? He was just a boy, a stranger. "Excuse me," he said, his voice sounding loud in the quiet, creative atmosphere. "Are you Eliza Thorne?" She smiled, a warm, genuine smile that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. "I am," she said. "And who might you be?" He walked toward her, his heart pounding a slow, heavy rhythm in his chest. "My name is Leo," he said. He stopped a few feet away from her. "My father was Arthur. He drove the Route 7 bus." The moment he said his father's name, her entire being changed. The polite, friendly smile melted away and was replaced by something much deeper. It was a look of profound recognition, of surprise, of a sudden, sharp memory. Her eyes widened. Her hand went to her chest. "Arthur," she breathed, the name a soft, wondrous sound. "You are Arthur's son." She looked at him closely, searching his face. Yes, I can see it now. You have his eyes. That same quiet way of looking at the world. Leo felt a lump form in his throat. She saw his father in him. It was the kindest thing anyone could have said. "Please," she said, gesturing to a pair of comfortable chairs in a quieter corner of the sunroom. "Come, sit with me." She moved slowly with the help of her cane. Leo walked beside her, feeling a strange sense of reverence. He was walking with a legend, a character from his father's secret book who had suddenly, miraculously, stepped off the page and into the real world. They sat down, facing each other. The light from the large windows fell on her face, illuminating the fine web of wrinkles that told the story of her life. "I was so sorry to hear about your father," she said, her voice soft with genuine sadness. "The depot manager called me. Arthur had listed me as an emergency contact. I was so shocked. He was such a good, steady man. The world is a little dimmer without him in it." Leo did not know what to say. He could only nod, the lump in his throat making words impossible. "He spoke of you often," Eliza continued, her eyes full of a gentle warmth. "He was so proud of you. He told me you were finding your own way, that you were a good, thoughtful young man. He worried about you, of course. All fathers do. He worried you were a little too quiet, a little too alone." She smiled a small, sad smile. "It seems he was a bit quiet and alone himself. It is funny how we see our own faults most clearly in our children." Leo was stunned. His father had talked about him. To this woman, this friend of the night, he had shared his worries and his pride. He had never spoken of such things to Leo directly. It was another piece of the puzzle of his father, another part of the man he was only just getting to know. "How did you find me?" she asked, her curiosity genuine. And so the story came pouring out of him. He told her everything. He told her about taking his father's job, about the lonely nights driving the empty bus. He told her about cleaning the cabin and finding the leather-bound book. He described the shock and wonder of reading his father's secret words, of discovering the world of the professor and the night. He told her about his own small journey, about his fear of speaking and his first conversation with Maya. And he told her about finding her initial E and the story of the friendship that unfolded through the pages. He described his search, the dead end at Willow Creek, the library, the art gallery. He talked for a long time, his usual shyness forgotten in the urgent need to share the story, to make her understand. Eliza listened with a rapt attention. She did not interrupt. Her bright eyes never left his face. He saw a range of emotions pass over her as he spoke. Sadness when he described his loneliness, a flicker of amusement when he talked about the nicknames, and a deep, profound tenderness when he spoke of his father's writings about her. When he finally finished, the sunroom was quieter. The painting class was over. They were almost alone, sitting together in a pool of late afternoon light. Tears were shining in Eliza's eyes. She reached out and placed her warm, dry hand on his. "Oh, Arthur," she whispered, as if speaking to the air. "You beautiful secret man." She looked back at Leo. "Thank you for telling me that. You have given me such a gift. To know that our little talks meant so much to him. He was my nightly friend, you know. When my husband passed, the nights were the hardest. They were so long and so quiet. And then, one night, I started talking to this quiet bus driver, and he started talking back. He saved me in his own small way. He filled the quiet with his kindness." They sat in silence for a long moment, a shared, comfortable silence, honoring the memory of the man who connected them. Then Leo remembered the final part of his mission. "There is more," he said, his voice soft. "The logbook, the very last entry. My father wrote that he was bringing you a package. He said it was finally finished." Eliza's eyes widened again, this time with a dawning, tearful understanding. "The box," she whispered. "The box for my pencils." "Yes," Leo said. "I think so. It is in his workshop. I have not touched it. I wanted to bring it to you, your father," she said, shaking her head in wonder, a fresh tear tracing a path through the wrinkles on her cheek. "That dear, dear man, he told me he was making it, from the old oak tree at the stop. It was our tree. We watched the seasons change in its branches. When they cut it down, I felt like I had lost another old friend. He promised he would make something from it, so we could remember." She looked at Leo, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I would be so honored to see it." The next day, Leo came back. This time, he carried a small, carefully wrapped package. He had wrapped it in simple brown paper and string, just as he imagined his father would have. He found Eliza in the same corner of the sunroom, waiting for him. She had a small cardboard box on the table in front of her. He sat down and placed his package on the table between them. "Here," he said simply. With hands that trembled just a little, Eliza carefully untied the string and unfolded the paper. She lifted the wooden box out. It was small and rectangular, just the right size for a set of pencils. The wood was a beautiful, deep brown color, with a grain that swirled like flowing water. It was polished to a soft, glowing sheen, and it felt warm and smooth to the touch, just as his father had intended. The lid fit perfectly. There was no latch or hinge. It just lifted off. It was a work of simple, profound beauty. It was a piece of a tree, a piece of a friendship, a piece of his father's quiet, patient love. Eliza held it in both of her hands, her eyes closed. She ran her thumbs over the smooth surface. "Oh, Arthur," she breathed. She was not just seeing a box, she was seeing the tree. She was seeing the night bus. She was seeing her friend. Then she opened her eyes and looked at Leo. She pushed the small cardboard box toward him. "Look," she said. He opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of old cotton, was a set of colored pencils. There were about 24 of them. They were not new. They were worn down, some of them no more than short stubs. The wood of each one was scarred and marked with use, but the colors were still incredibly vibrant. There was a blue as deep as the night sky, a yellow as bright as a single streetlight, a gray as soft as the morning fog. These were the tools of her trade, the instruments she had used to capture the world. "My husband gave them to me on our first anniversary," she said softly. "They are a rare German brand. You cannot find them anymore. They have been with me for over 60 years. They have painted 1,000 pictures." She picked up one of the pencils, a deep crimson red. This was the color of the sunset on the evening we met. She picked up another, a bright, hopeful green. This was the color of the new leaves in the spring after our first child was born. Each pencil was a memory. Each color was a chapter of her life. She carefully lifted the pencils, one by one, from their old, worn-out cardboard home and placed them into the beautiful wooden box. They fit perfectly, a new home for old memories. When the last one was inside, she placed the lid on top. It made a soft, satisfying sound as it settled into place. She put her hands on the box, a look of peaceful, heartbreaking gratitude on her face. "He did it," she whispered. "He finished it." Leo sat there, his heart full to bursting. He had done it. He had completed the route. He had delivered the package. He had brought his father's last gift to its rightful owner. In that moment, watching Eliza hold the box, he felt his father's presence so strongly. It was as if he were sitting in the chair right beside them, smiling his quiet, gentle smile. The heavy weight of grief he had been carrying for 2 months finally began to feel a little lighter. It was not gone, but it was no longer a crushing burden. It was becoming something he could carry, a memory that was not just about loss, but also about love and friendship, and a beautiful wooden box. Chapter 7. A Community on Wheels. The delivery of the box to Eliza was like closing a circle. It was the end of his father's last story, a final, beautiful period at the end of a long sentence. Leo felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet rightness in the world that had been absent since his father's death. But in the days that followed, a new and unexpected feeling began to surface, a feeling of emptiness. The mission that had consumed him, the search for E, was over. He no longer spent his days searching, his nights waiting. The burning purpose that had driven him was gone, and in its place was a quiet void. He still had his job. He still drove the Route 7 bus, but the mystery was gone. He knew the stories in the logbook. He had met the ghost on the route. He was once again just a driver, moving through the sleeping city. He continued to visit Eliza. He would go to the Silver Creek senior residence once a week in the quiet hours of the afternoon. He would find her in the sunroom, the wooden box always on the table beside her. She would tell him stories. She told him more about his father, filling in the gaps in Leo's memory with her own. She told him about Arthur's quiet sense of humor, the way he would make a small, dry joke without cracking a smile. She told him about the time a stray cat had gotten on the bus, and his father had let it ride for 3 stops before gently shooing it off near a park. She told him stories that made his father feel more real, more complete than ever before. In return, Leo told her about his nights on the bus. He told her about Maya and how their small, hesitant conversations were slowly growing. He told her about the night and how Leo had started bringing an extra bottle of cold water for him on hot nights. Eliza would listen, her bright eyes full of warmth and encouragement. She became his friend, his mentor. She was the E to his own story now. These visits were a bright spot in his week, a small island of connection in his otherwise solitary life. But when he was back in the driver's seat of bus number 42, the feeling of aimlessness would return. He had followed his father's map to its end. Now he had to figure out how to draw his own. He knew he could not go back to being the silent, invisible driver he was before. The logbook had changed him too much for that. He had learned to see the humanity in his passengers, but he did not know what to do with that knowledge. He was an observer, just as his father had been, but he felt a growing desire to be more than that. He wanted to participate. He wanted to be a part of the world, not just a witness to it. The opportunity came in a small, sad way. There was another regular passenger on the route, a very old man his father had nicknamed the Watchman. The name was in the logbook. Arthur had written that the old man, whose name was Mr. Gable, never seemed to sleep. He would get on the bus in the middle of the night and ride the entire loop, his eyes wide and alert, staring out the window. "He is the watchman of the night," his father had written. "He makes sure the city is still here when the sun comes up." Mr. Gable was a man of even fewer words than Leo. He would give a single sharp nod when he got on, and another when he got off. For 2 months, he had been a constant, silent presence on Leo's bus, a quiet fixture of the night. Then, one night, he was not there. Leo did not think much of it at first. People missed the bus, routines were broken. But when Mr. Gable was not there the next night, or the night after that, a small seed of worry began to grow in Leo's mind. He remembered Eliza's words about his father. "He worried about you." His father had worried about his passengers. He had noticed when their routines changed. Leo realized he was starting to do the same. The watchman's absence was a silent question mark on his route. After a full week had passed with no sign of Mr. Gable, the worry had grown into a genuine concern. He was a very old man. He lived alone. Leo knew this from his father's logbook. Arthur had written down the addresses of some of the regulars, not in a creepy way, but in a practical, caring one. In case of emergency, the entry had said, Leo found the address for Mr. Gable. It was a small apartment building on a street near the beginning of the route. Leo was faced with a choice. He could do nothing. He could tell himself it was not his business. He was just a bus driver. Or he could do what he suspected his father would have done. He could check. He could make sure the watchman was okay. The thought of knocking on another stranger's door filled him with his old, familiar anxiety. But this time, it was different. This was not a search for the past. This was a concern for the present. The feeling of responsibility was stronger than his fear. He made his decision. During the long break he had in the middle of his shift, when the bus was scheduled to sit idle at the downtown transit center for 30 minutes, he did something he was not supposed to do. He broke the rules. He took the bus off its designated route. He turned down a side street, his heart pounding with a nervous energy. He was driving his father's bus on his own errand of care. He drove the few blocks to Mr. Gable's apartment building. It was a plain, brick building, dark except for a few scattered window lights. He parked the huge bus at the curb, its engine a low rumble in the quiet street. It felt enormous and out of place, a gentle giant on a secret mission. He went into the building. The hallway smelled of dust and old newspapers. He found Mr. Gable's apartment, number 3B. He knocked softly on the door. He waited. Nothing. He knocked again. A little louder this time. He heard a faint, shuffling sound from inside, and then a weak, raspy voice. "Who is it?" "It is Leo," he said, speaking to the closed door. "From the bus, the Route 7 bus." There was a long pause, then the sound of a lock turning, and the door opened a few inches, held by a security chain. Mr. Gable peered out. His face was pale and drawn. He looked much older and more fragile than he did on the bus. "The bus driver?" he asked, his voice full of confusion. "Yes," Leo said. I had not seen you in a while. I was worried. I wanted to make sure you were okay." The old man's expression of confusion softened into one of surprise, and then something else, something that looked like relief. "I had a fall," he said, his voice quiet and shaky. "A few days ago. I am all right, just very sore. I cannot get out." Leo's concern turned into a sharp, practical focus. "Have you eaten? Do you need anything?" Mr. Gable looked down, a hint of shame on his face. "I am getting low on a few things. Bread, milk." "Stay there," Leo said. "Do not move. I will be right back." Leo did not even think about what he was doing. He just acted. He got back on the bus. He drove to a 24-hour convenience store that was on his route. He ran inside and bought a bag full of groceries: bread, milk, soup, juice, a few apples. He paid with his own money. He drove back to Mr. Gable's apartment, the plastic grocery bag sitting on the passenger seat next to him, like a co-pilot. He went back to the apartment. Mr. Gable unhooked the chain and let him in. The apartment was small and tidy, but it felt lonely. Leo put the groceries on the kitchen counter. "I do not have much money to pay you," Mr. Gable said, his voice full of a proud, quiet dignity. "It is not about money," Leo said. It is what neighbors do." He did not know where the words came from, but they felt right. "Will you be all right for a few days?" "Yes," the old man said, looking at the bag of food with something like wonder in his eyes. "This will help. This will help a lot. Thank you, son. Thank you." Leo left the apartment and got back on his bus. He was a few minutes late getting back to the transit center, but no one noticed. As he drove the rest of his route that night, the bus did not feel empty anymore. It felt full. It was full of the quiet satisfaction of a good deed done. He had stepped out of his role as an observer. He had seen a problem, and he had done something about it. He had not just watched the story, he had become a part of it. He had helped the watchman. This single act of kindness, this small rebellion against the rules, changed everything. It opened a door inside him that he did not know existed. He realized that the bus did not have to be just a mode of transportation. It could be a vehicle for connection, for community. He started to look at his route not as a series of stops, but as a network of lives that he was uniquely positioned to help. He started small. He noticed that Maya, the professor, often looked cold while she was waiting for the bus late at night. The next week, he found an old, clean blanket in his father's apartment. He put it in a bag, and that night, when he saw her at the stop, he took the bus out of service for a moment. He got out and walked over to her. "I know this is strange," he said, his old shyness making his words stumble a little, "but my bus can be drafty. I thought you might be able to use this while you wait." He handed her the blanket. Maya was so surprised she was speechless for a moment. Then she took the blanket, a huge, grateful smile spreading across her face. "Thank you, Leo," she said. "That is the kindest thing." From then on, their conversations became easier, more natural. She told him about her studies. He told her about the logbook. They became friends. He did the same for the night. He saw how exhausted the cook was every night. He started buying an extra coffee on his way to the depot. He would keep it in a thermos, and when the night got on, Leo would hand him a hot cup of coffee. The first time he did it, the cook looked at him with suspicion. But then he took a sip, and his tired face relaxed into a look of pure gratitude. He did not say much, but he did not have to. The quiet understanding between them was enough. Word began to spread in the small, strange community of the night bus. It was not something anyone talked about openly, but it was there. The driver of the Route 7 bus was different. He was not just a driver, he was a caretaker. He was a friend. The atmosphere on the bus began to change. It had always been a place of silent, individual journeys. Now, a fragile sense of community was beginning to grow. People started to nod at each other. Sometimes, a quiet conversation would start between two strangers. The bus was no longer just a metal box. It was becoming a moving sanctuary, a warm, safe place in the cold, dark night. The sad event that solidified this new community was what happened to the nightingale, the humming woman. One night, she got on the bus, and she was not humming. She was crying. Silent tears were streaming down her face. She sat in her usual seat, her body shaking with a grief that was too big to hold inside. Leo's heart ached for her. He did not know what to do. His father's words came back to him. Some stories do not need words. He knew he could not ask her what was wrong, but he had to do something. He kept driving. At the next stop, a young woman got on, another regular he did not know well. She saw the nightingale crying. She walked past her, but then she hesitated. She opened her bag, took out a small, clean package of tissues, and walked back. She gently placed the tissues on the seat next to the old woman. She did not say a word. She just gave a small, compassionate nod and went to her own seat at the back of the bus. A few minutes later, the knight got on, holding his cup of coffee from Leo. He saw the crying woman. He saw the tissues. He walked over to her and gently placed his own offering on the seat beside the tissues. It was a warm pastry, wrapped in a napkin, from the restaurant where he worked. A small comfort. The bus became a vessel of silent, powerful kindness. Each person who got on saw the woman's grief, and each in their own way tried to help. The bus was no longer a collection of strangers. It was a community. It was a family. And Leo, the quiet driver at the front, was the one who had brought them all together. He had not done it with grand gestures or loud pronouncements. He had done it with a blanket, a cup of coffee, and a bag of groceries. He had done it by breaking the rules and following his heart. He realized that this was his map. This was his purpose. His father had been the chronicler, the observer who recorded the stories of the night. Leo was the connector. He was the one who took those stories and wove them together. He was not just driving a route anymore. He was building a community, one small act of kindness at a time. The bus, his father's bus, had become his own. It was a community on wheels, a rolling testament to the idea that even in the darkest and loneliest of hours, people could still find a way to take care of each other. And Leo, the quiet son of a quiet man, was the one at the wheel, steering them all safely through the night. Chapter 8. The Driver. The night bus, bus number 42, was no longer the same machine it had been a few months ago. On the surface, everything was identical. The seats were the same worn vinyl. The engine hummed the same steady, low tune. The route was the same endless loop through the sleeping city, but the air inside was different. It was warmer. It was filled with a quiet, invisible web of connections that Leo had helped to weave. He was no longer a ghost in a metal shell. He was the host of a moving sanctuary, the caretaker of a small, fragile community. He knew his passengers now, not just as nicknames from his father's book, but as people. He knew that Maya had passed her big history exam and was now worrying about her next one. He knew that the knight, whose real name was David, was saving up to open his own small diner someday. He knew that the nightingale, Mrs. Eleanor Vance, was grieving the recent anniversary of her husband's death, and that her sad humming was a way to feel close to him. These were the small, precious truths of the night, and Leo was their guardian. His unofficial services continued. They became a regular, unspoken part of the route. He would make a quick detour to drop off a small bag of groceries for Mr. Gable once a week. He always had a thermos of hot coffee ready for David. He kept a small box of donated books and magazines at the front of the bus, a little library for the night riders. Maya helped him organize it. She would bring books she had finished, and soon other passengers started to do the same. A quiet culture of sharing and support had taken root in the unlikely soil of a public city bus. Leo had found his purpose. It was not a grand or ambitious one. It was a simple, human-sized purpose. It was the act of noticing and the act of helping. He had taken his father's quiet empathy and turned it into action. He was happy. It was not a loud, boisterous happiness. It was a deep, steady contentment, a feeling of being in the right place, doing the right thing. But the world has rules, and Leo was breaking them. He knew it, but he had pushed the thought to the back of his mind. The bus had a schedule to keep, a route to follow. Drivers were not supposed to make personal stops. They were not supposed to form friendships with their passengers. They were supposed to be impartial, efficient cogs in the great machine of public transportation. Leo was not a cog. He was a person, and his personal, human approach to his job was eventually noticed. It started with a complaint. A passenger who was not a regular, someone just trying to get home late one night, was annoyed that the bus was 5 minutes behind schedule. He had seen Leo get out of the bus at an unscheduled stop to hand a bag to an old man. He did not see an act of kindness. He saw a dereliction of duty. He filed a formal complaint with the transit authority. An official-looking letter arrived at Leo's apartment a few days later. It summoned him to a meeting with his supervisor, a man named Mr. Henderson. Leo felt a cold knot of dread form in his stomach, a feeling he had not had in a long time. He had known this day might come, but he had hoped it would not. He thought of all the good he was doing, the small community he had built. Surely that had to count for something. He went to the meeting with a small, fragile hope that he could make them understand. The meeting was in a small, gray office at the bus depot. Mr. Henderson was a man who seemed to match the office. He had a gray suit, gray hair, and a tired, gray expression on his face. He was not a mean man, just a man who had seen everything and was no longer surprised by anything. He had a file on his desk with Leo's name on it. "Leo," he began, his voice flat and businesslike. "We have a problem," he explained the complaint. He told Leo that they had been monitoring his route for the past week. They knew about the unscheduled stops. They knew he was running late more often than not. "I have to be honest with you, son," Mr. Henderson said, looking at Leo over the top of his glasses. "I have never seen a file like this. You are one of our most praised drivers and one of our most problematic. We get letters from passengers saying you are the kindest, most helpful driver in the city, and we get official reports saying you are not following the schedule. What am I supposed to do with that? Leo tried to explain. He spoke quietly, his voice full of a sincerity that he hoped would be enough. He told Mr. Henderson about his father, about the logbook, about the people who rode his bus. He did not call them the Knight or the Nightingale. He used their real names. He talked about Mr. Gable's fall, about David's long hours, about Maya's late-night studies. He tried to paint a picture of the world of the night, a world that operated on a different kind of schedule, a human schedule. They are not just passengers, Leo said, his voice gaining a little strength. They are a community, and the bus, it is more than just a bus to them. It is a safe place. I am just trying to take care of them. Mr. Henderson listened patiently. He did not interrupt. When Leo was finished, the supervisor leaned back in his chair and sighed a long, heavy sigh. I understand, he said. And the surprising thing was, Leo believed that he did. Your father, Arthur, was a good man, a great driver. He worked here for 30 years, never had a single complaint. He did his job, and he did it well. He leaned forward again, his expression serious. But this is not that job, Leo. We are a public service. We have a responsibility to the entire city, not just the 10 or 12 people on your bus. The schedule is not just a suggestion, it is a promise. When we say a bus will be at a certain stop at a certain time, it has to be there. Someone might be waiting in the cold to get to their own job. Someone might be trying to get home to their family. Your 5-minute delay to deliver groceries could cause someone else a major problem. Everything Mr. Henderson said was logical. It was true. Leo could not argue with it. He felt his fragile hope begin to crumble. I am not going to fire you, Mr. Henderson continued. Your record is too good for that. The letters of commendation speak for themselves. But this has to stop. The detours, the personal deliveries, all of it. You are a bus driver, Leo. That is all. You drive the bus. You follow the route. You stick to the schedule. That is the job. Can you do that? The question hung in the air of the small gray office. It was a simple question with a very complicated answer. Could he go back to being just a driver? Could he see Mr. Gable waiting at his stop and not worry if he had enough food? Could he see David, exhausted after a 12-hour shift, and not offer him a cup of coffee? Could he watch his small community dissolve back into a collection of lonely, silent strangers? He thought of his father. His father had been an observer. He had kept his kindness in his heart and in his secret book. Leo had taken that kindness and let it out into the world. He could not put it back in the box. For the first time in his life, Leo felt a surge of defiance. It was not loud or angry. It was a quiet, solid certainty that rose up from the core of his being. He had spent his whole life being quiet, being invisible, doing what was expected of him, but he had learned something on the night bus. He had learned that his actions mattered. He had learned that he had the power to make a small corner of the world a little bit warmer, a little bit kinder, and he was not going to give that up. He looked Mr. Henderson straight in the eye. His voice was steady and clear. My father taught me that a driver can be more than just a driver, he said. He taught me to see the people, not just the passengers, and I cannot unsee them. If doing my job means I have to stop caring about the people I am supposed to be serving, then I do not think I can do this job anymore. It was the bravest thing he had ever said. He had stood up for himself, for his community, for the new kind of life he had built. He had expected Mr. Henderson to be angry, to fire him on the spot. But the supervisor just looked at him with a strange, unreadable expression. He was silent for a long time. Then he just nodded slowly. "All right, Leo," he said, his voice flat. "I hear you. You can go now." Leo left the office feeling like he was walking on air and walking to his doom at the same time. He had stood his ground. He had spoken his truth. He did not know if he had a job anymore, but he knew he had done the right thing. The next few days were filled with a tense, anxious uncertainty. He kept driving his route. He kept making his stops. He did not know if each shift would be his last. He told his passengers what had happened. He told Maya, David, and the others that he might not be their driver for much longer. The news spread through the small community like a sad, quiet rumor. And then something amazing happened. The people of the night bus began to fight back. Maya, the quiet scholar, organized everything. She wrote a letter. It was a beautiful, powerful letter that described what Leo had created on the Route 7 bus. It told the story of the community on wheels, of the kindness and support that had blossomed in the most unlikely of places. She described the grocery deliveries, the hot coffee, the lending library, the comfort offered to a grieving widow. She argued that Leo was not just following a schedule, he was fulfilling a much deeper public service. He was combating the loneliness and isolation that was a silent plague in the city. She got everyone to sign it. David the cook, Mrs. Vance the nightingale, even Mr. Gable, the watchman, who had to have his daughter bring the letter to his apartment for him to sign with a shaky hand. More than 20 regular passengers, the quiet people of the night, added their names to the letter. And it was not just the letter. People started calling the transit authority. They started writing their own emails. They told their stories. They defended their driver. The small, quiet community of the night bus had found its voice. And it was a loud, clear voice of support for the young man who had brought them all together. A week after his meeting, another letter arrived for Leo. This one was also from the transit authority. He opened it with trembling hands, expecting a notice of termination. But it was not that. It was a letter from Mr. Henderson. The letter said that the transit authority had received an unprecedented number of positive testimonials on his behalf. It said that while the rules of the schedule were still important, they were launching a new pilot program. It was called the Community Routes Program. A few select late-night routes, starting with Route 7, would be given more flexible schedules to allow for enhanced community support. The letter ended with a simple, handwritten note at the bottom from Mr. Henderson himself. It said, "Your father would be proud of you. Now get back to work." The story ends as it began, with Leo behind the wheel of bus number 42. It is late at night. The city is sleeping. The engine is a low, steady hum, but everything is different. He is no longer a ghost driving his father's route. He is Leo, the driver of the Route 7 community route. He looks in the large rearview mirror. He does not just see passengers. He sees his friends. He sees Maya reading a book from the bus library. He sees David sipping a cup of hot coffee, a small smile on his tired face. He sees a community, his community, reflected back at him. He feels the comforting weight of his father's legacy, not as a burden he has to carry, but as a foundation he has built upon. He is at peace. He is home. He is not lonely anymore. He has found his own route, a route marked not by streets and stops, but by kindness and connection. And he drives on, a quiet guardian, steering his small sanctuary safely through the night.